Most everybody knows that in the US, you drive on the right side of the road, in the UK, you drive on the left, and in North Ayrshire, you drive on what's left. But today I'm going to dig a bit deeper because it's not just where you drive that changes, it's how you talk about driving. The words, the names, the whole system flips on its head once you cross the Atlantic. My name is Peter, and 4 years ago, I moved from Oklahoma to the west coast of Scotland. If you've moved over here and felt like you were part of some elaborate prank having to relearn damn near every driving related word, this one's for you. Let's start at the front of the car. Now, a bonnet might sound like something you'd wear to a Victorian picnic, but here it's that thing you lift up to check the engine, even though you have absolutely no idea what it is you're looking at. In the States, it would be called the hood. Next up is the windshield, except here it's called the windscreen. You might also check your side mirrors, but here they're called wing mirrors, brought to you by Red Bull, apparently. Now, when you get to the back of the car, if you're an American, you would toss your groceries in the trunk. But here in Scotland, you'll be putting the messages or tucking the scran in the boot. And before you take off, make sure your number plates are clean and readable. That's right, they are number plates, not license plates, and definitely not tags. If you're almost out of fuel, don't go looking for a gas station. You'll be hunting down a petrol station. Because if you tell a Scottish person that you're looking for some gas, you're not talking about fuel anymore. You are talking about what happens 30 minutes after a trip to Taco Bell. Now let's talk about cars themselves. In America, we've got sedans and station wagons. In Scotland, a sedan is called a saloon. And if you're driving one, you should be wearing spurs and a cowboy hat. If you need a big station wagon for your family, that is an estate. Although for me, estate sounds like it should come with rolling hills and a vineyard, not Monster Munch under the backseat. Pickup trucks do exist here, but they're not super common, and the only variants that they sell would be considered very small pickup trucks in the States. If you live here and you need a pickup truck for work, you'll probably do the sensible thing and get a van instead, because they're much more practical. People here will understand the term minivan, but in general, they'll say people carrier or MPV, short for multi-purpose vehicle, as the term van is usually reserved for commercial vehicles like a Sprinter or a transit van. Regardless of what type of vehicle you have though, some people in the States might call it their whip or their ride. Here, a common term would be to just call it your motor. Are you planning a visit? You'll be looking for a hire car, not a car rental. And this one's crucial. If you hire a car in Scotland or really anywhere in Europe and you don't know how to drive stick, you better speak up because manual gearboxes are the default over here. And that's a manual gearbox, not a manual transmission. If you want an automatic, you need to ask for an automatic gearbox specifically, and it'll likely cost you more. Although over time, things are shifting a bit as newer vehicles do tend to be automatics, and all electric vehicles are of course also automatic. Also, that lever that you don't pull when you park, here it's not an emergency brake, e-brake, or parking brake, it's the hand brake, which makes sense. It's a brake, you use your hand, job done. I think one of the reasons why Americans usually call it the emergency brake or e-brake is because they're used to only driving automatics, and most of them, they literally never use the handbrake, even though you really should be using the handbrake, even if you're driving an automatic. When you're changing lanes or making a turn, don't forget to use your indicators. Not your turn signals, not your blinkers, your indicators. If you own a BMW, Audi, or Mercedes and are super confused right now, I'm talking about that little stick poking out of your steering column that's covered in dust. I know you've probably never heard this term before, but that stick activates some lights on the exterior of your car, and it's like magic. It lets other drivers know that you're about to change lanes or turn. You should try it sometime. Now, if you don't know where you're going to want to use your sat-nav. That's short for satellite navigation, which Americans usually just call GPS, which is short for Global Positioning Service. Sat-nav is much more efficient to say though, and it rolls off the tongue better. Before you even get behind the wheel though, make sure that your car has passed its MOT. MOT stands for Ministry of Transport, and it's the UK version of a vehicle inspection. If your car is over 3 years old, it will need to pass the MOT test every year. Basically, it makes the roads much safer by making sure your car doesn't fall apart halfway through a roundabout. Sadly, most states in America have zero requirements for a vehicle inspection. True story. My first car was an old Nissan pickup truck that was fully legal to drive on Oklahoma roads because they don't have any kind of vehicle inspection. But if it was here in Scotland, it would have been immediately sent to be crushed. It had a manual gearbox, which I always thought was cool because to this day, I think I've only ever known one other American who owned a manual. That's how rare they are. The pickup truck was a replacement for my motorcycle that had been totaled after I got rear-ended by another pickup truck, and I did not get it checked out before buying it. Go easy on me, I was 16 years old when this happened. I paid $1,300 for it, and this truck was a literal death trap. The entire front end was held together with chicken wire, and a few months after I bought it, I brought it to a friend's house to try to replace one of the brakes that was squeaking, and when we went to jack up the wheel, the jack literally popped a hole in the frame of the truck. That's how rusted the frame was. So while of course sometimes it can be a bit of a pain, dodgy MOTs do exist, and you still always need to check out a vehicle before buying it, the overall quality of used cars here is significantly higher, and the cost of those cars are ludicrously low compared to what you would expect in America. Anyway, moving on. After you take your motor oot for a lap room the tune, you're gonna need to park your car. You won't be looking for a parking lot though, because over here it's a car park. Now let's talk about roads. In the US, we drive on freeways, highways, and interstates. In Scotland, that's the motorway. If it's not quite a motorway, but still has 2 lanes in either direction separated by a barrier, it's called a dual carriageway because apparently 2-lane divided highway just didn't sound posh enough. And you won't find many 4-way stop signs here either. They've mastered the art of the roundabout, and I love that. Although if you're an American, you might call them traffic circles, or I have no idea what I'm doing in this confusion circle. Now let's talk about crossing the road as a pedestrian, or as Americans might call it, dodging traffic while praying. In the UK, marked crossings, not crosswalks, come in different animal-themed varieties. Zebra crossings, pelican crossings, puffin crossings, toucan crossings, and Pegasus crossings. You could write a Dr. Seuss book just about UK road crossings. Actually, that's a good idea. If you're walking in Britain, just follow the queue. There's a crossing out there that's perfect for you. The zebra stands boldly in black and in white. No buttons to press, just walk when it's right. Then comes the pelican flashing its light. Press the wee button and wait for the sight. The green man will blink, the traffic will pause, letting you cross without breaking the laws. The puffin is clever and watches your pace, holding the red if you're still in the space. The toucan is built for cyclists too. 2 can cross safely, both bike and shoe. And if you're on horseback, don't make a fuss. There's a Pegasus crossing, just right for us, with buttons up high and room for the steed. It's made for your mount and your noble speed. So whether you're walking or trotting on through, there's a crossing that's waiting, just perfect for you. Oh, also, if you're crossing train tracks, don't look for a railroad crossing. You're looking for a level crossing. Over here, what Americans call a stoplight is a traffic light. A detour is a diversion, and the on-ramp or off-ramp, that's called the slip road. If you pull onto the shoulder of the road, they call that the verge, which coincidentally is also what you're on when you're driving through Glasgow city centre during rush hour traffic, on the verge of losing your mind. Continuing the theme of things sounding different, it's the same when you're learning to drive. As an American, if you move here, any driving experience or licenses that you have are only valid for 1 year before you have to start over and go through the entire licensing process as if you've never driven before in your life. You'll begin as a learner driver with a provisional license, not a learner's permit. And once you pass the driving test, you get a driving license, not a driver's license. Also note that license is spelled with a C instead of an S over here. And instead of a driving teacher, you have a driving instructor. I'm not sure about every state in the US, but in Oklahoma, you're not legally required to notify anyone that you're a learner driver. Here you are. You'll see L plates on learner cars, big red L's, warning other drivers that the person behind the wheel is still figuring it out. Thanks for sticking around to the end of my video. The Scottish phrase of the day is "Dinna teach your granny to suck eggs." Sticking to the motoring theme, please drop me a comment below and tell me what your favorite vehicle is that you've ever owned. That's it for today. I will see you next time. And remember, no matter what side of the road you're driving on, your ex still can't parallel park.